The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Hey everyone! Get in here! Ready for action! Out on the beast, it must say.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to TAC. I'm Garrett Wyanzerl here, as always, with Jocelyn Carney. Happy Scholomance Eve, Joss.
Yay, I'm so excited. It's the day before the best day of the year so far.
Wait, there's three best days of the year, or is it? Are you in just particular? Can you divine the fact that Scholomance is going to be the best expansion of the year, or are you?
Absolutely. Have you seen these cards?
They are nuts. Absolutely nuts, Jocelyn. Crazy cards. We talked about a lot of them last week. And yeah, so we're sticking to our regularly scheduled program, which means this is a expansion release, like pre-release episode as opposed to a post-release, because we both have other things to do on Thursdays. So we'll be doing our post-launch episode next Wednesday. We will have had some time to play with the new cards, play with the new decks. Jocelyn probably with a few more legendaries than myself, but that's just the way things go. Although not last time.
I feel like my luck has been steadily declining. So I'm interested to see what kind of packs I open this time around, because like I had bad luck. I think Ashes of Outland in general was just probably my personal worst expansion that probably in the history of Hearthstone. We got Demon Hunter, and I was so mad and salty about that. And then, when I opened my packs, they were terrible. Ashes of Outland was not my thing.
It was a little curse for you, for sure.
It kind of was. Maybe that's why I'm so stoked about Scholomance, because...
I would like to point out, I'm fairly certain, though, that Outland was the only time in, like, probably the last 2 years where you had a bad card haul.
Yeah, at least. I literally don't remember the last time I had a bad card haul. Maybe Rosticon's Rumble, but none of those, I didn't really notice because none of those cards were particularly impactful, and I wasn't like, oh my God, I need to get, XYZ, so... I had good Ungoro card pack openings, great Old God card pack openings. There was one other expansion around that same time where I got like a triple legendary pack. Bad expansion openings are not usually in my wheelhouse. Can I call it my wheelhouse when it's random luck? But
you're just what is this? I only got an average number of legendaries. I don't understand this feeling. It's almost like it wasn't what I expected. Jocelyn, the word you're looking for is disappointing. I know you haven't had that feeling in regards to pack opening, but that is indeed the word you're looking for.
Yeah, and so I feel like maybe Ashes of Outland was like me karmically paying back the universe for all of my Joss luck in previous expansions. So now we should be back on track for Joss luck.
It's fair. It's very fair. Well, the news front is obviously a little on the quiet side. We do have a news segment for you all today, but you wanted to talk about, it's Expansion Eve. What is it that we want to try out first? Once we're done cracking our, obviously we want to try opening packs first. That's what I want to try first.
Step 1, packs. Step
1.
2,
playing a deck. Well, building a deck and then playing a deck.
I was expecting you to say Paladin, because you've got it with an exclamation mark in the notes.
Paladin! Yeah.
There you go.
I'm calling it right here and now. It is the dawn of the Demon Hunter and Hunter are still going to be tier 1 decks that are god tier. Man. But also it's the dawn of the Paladin. You get out of here with your logic. Paladin. I'm calling it right now. Scholomance no more Paladin, Joss. We're out of here. We're out of here. It's Paladank. That's what we're doing.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm out of here. This show is over.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. I'm controlling the stream, so I'm just going to solo this biz. So, hi, everybody. Welcome
Garrett,
to the
terrible.
Angry Paladank, the new show with just me, not Jocelyn, where I just report on every week's Paladin news.
Obvi.
All right. Now I hate you. Now. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I know your buttons, Garrett.
All right. Wonderful.
So gifable.
So bad. Obvi. Oh, jeez. I hate it. It sounds like a really bad app. Like the next Twitter contender is going to be called Obvi. And it's just going to be you ask a question, you get a really obvious answer returned to you. That's going to be, there it is. You can have that one for free, Silicon Valley. Yeah, I can't wait to play Paladin. I'm sure it comes as a surprise to no one. It's the golden hair that probably gave it away. I love the class. I really do. I haven't played a lot of it really this year because
I feel like we were excited about Librams and then they didn't kind of really pan out the way we thought that they were going to be. We thought they were going to be great. Like
right at the end, they I haven't really looked the last couple of weeks, but they're just on the cusp of like top win rate over on HS Replay. They finally almost got there. Like they have been right, but it's been this really slow uptick for Libram Paladin over the entire course of Ashes of Outland. It's like the most boring, but you also want to invest in it like stock market line ever. It's just slowly going up.
It's that slow burn.
Yep. It was at its lowest point at the beginning of Ashes Island, and it's ending at the highest point, essentially. I'm sure there's been a little bit of variance in there, but they basically have arrived. We've kind of figured out how to do the Librams / pure Paladin and make it work.
Plus, we've also had a lot of like nerfs and changes and things since the beginning of Ashes of Outland. There's been a lot of balance patches.
And straight up buffs to Paladin.
Yeah.
Paladin got buffs, which I was really happy to see, but like immediately didn't seem to quite do it. But it turns out we just needed to tweak the deck and continue tweaking the deck and, get more experience against the various matchups. Because you go over and look at statistics now, the most popular pure / Libram list has pretty solid matchups across the board. There's, as usual, unless we're going to start calling for the immediate nerf of something like Demon Hunter at the beginning of Ashes of Outland, as usual, there's a few counter archetypes out there, but it's been doing quite well in the last few weeks, which makes me excited, but it's still not quite a tier 1 deck. I don't think most people out there would make an argument for that. And I mean, every class in Scholomance are getting, just to use a technical term, batshit cards. And so Paladin is no exception. I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Because like everyone's getting crazy cards. There's already existing archetypes across multiple classes that are very, very powerful. So who knows? But I really think Paladin's going to arrive. Like I think Libram Paladin is going to eke its way into tier 1 because of what's going on here. And maybe we'll cease to call it Libram Paladin because there's a lot of arguments to also run non-Libram buffs now because of Allura. Allura just seems extremely powerful. So,
I mean, she's really great, and I like the stat line, the 3/6 for 4. Like it works really well with both Paladin Priest because you really want something to stick to the board, right? So it doesn't need a whole lot of attack because you're going to basically be giving it attack through all of your buff cards. So yeah, I think Allura is really alluring, and I'm looking forward to playing with her.
You are just the worst. The absolute worst. Like
the worst
why?
Best.
The worst, just the worst. Just the worst, Joss. That's okay. We'll maybe forgive you and continue listening / participating in the podcast if you're me. But yeah, like just pulling the spell from your deck. It as we talked about last week, it definitely seems like a very specific type of Paladin deck wants to run this. Not that Allura pulling Consecrate out of your deck would be the worst thing in the world, but control tools like Consecrate are the types of things that you usually want to deploy with very specific purpose at a very specific time, not just randomly dealing 2 damage to your entire enemy's board and themselves. Not the worst thing in the world, but there's definitely much more value and to be found with a spell burst effect such as Allura's. So it certainly feels like
I think with her you're probably going to be building a deck that's less about like AoE and removal like that. Like you're basically going to be trying to buff up your minions and create a deck that's using your minions as removal, like more almost like a zoo mindset. It's like you want to get stuff on the board and then buff it up and then make good trades and value trade and stuff. And like, I think that's probably the deck that she goes into. And then you're not accidentally casting like equalities and consecrates and stuff at times when maybe you don't want to.
Yes. Sorry, I was reading chat room. They're asking if Liedrin would give you the spell. There should be no. As far as Hearthstone history is concerned, anytime a card has cast a spell, it counts as the card casting the spell. Liedrin specifically states cards you cast, you as the player. And so if Allura follows traditional Hearthstone rules, it should be Allura that is casting the spell, not you, the player. And therefore, Liedrin not giving you the spell. But again, there's so many good spells to choose from and that are good enough to warrant a deck slot. I think that's okay. I'm trying to think, what is the bad scenario there, right? Like when if that is a downside, and I'm not saying that that's what chat room was saying. I think they were just looking for a clarification there. But, if you're like, oh no, I got Libram of Hope out for a discount much earlier in the game than I had any right to be doing so. And I didn't get max value out of my 8 heal, but here I am before turn whatever late game with an 8/8 Guardian with the Haunt and Divine Shield. Like, yeah, okay, Liedrin doesn't give you another copy of that, but you just got an 8/8 Guardian with Haunt and Divine Shield at a point.
Turn like 4 or 5.
Exactly. So, it's a trade-off, and that is a price I am very, very willing to pay. So, and to come back to kind of Libram / Pure Paladin as a whole, yes, it's been doing well, but like the more I've been thinking about it, and now that we're on the precipice of expansion launch night, there's a great article out right now over on Vicious Syndicate called 30 days to try out, 30 decks to try out on day 1 of Scholomance Academy. Josh, you and I have been doing this a long time. Putting together this much, putting thought into it and actually, being able to back up the reasons that you're building the decks that you're building. This takes a lot of work. So hats off.
Yeah,
to
they literally, there's 3 different decks per class on this list. It's nuts. There's kind of a play style for everybody that they've put a lot of thought into here. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that I look at as someone who makes content and goes, oh, this is way too much work. I would never do something like this. But it's also signed the team, so I'm assuming multiple people worked on it. Wouldn't be surprised to find out that Ridiculous Hat had a call on some of these decks. But it's great. You should go give it a look. And they have what they're calling just Allura Pure Paladin. And it makes... I think some really smart changes. It definitely builds off of the pure package, which is a hilarious thing to call it because it has to be 30 cards that are all from the same class. But there's a lot of similarities between this list and the current most popular Libram Paladin list. And it really made me double down on something I was talking about. I believe it was Scholomance announcement week on the show, when I think it was like Goody Two Shields and a couple other Paladin cards were shown. And I was like, listen, I don't think we're playing Bronze Explorer because we really want Bronze Explorer in our deck. I think we're playing it because we have a lack of Paladin specific cards to fill those card slots. You have to fill up 30 slots and they all have to be Paladin cards if you want to get that pure trigger. And Bronze Explorer, not the worst card in the world, but it's also not that exciting and has it has really no synergy with Libram outside of it's a body you can put a Libram on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that now that we've they've opened up the door, with these dual class cards, it's given you a whole lot more options to build a pure paladin deck with. And I think you're totally right. Like pure paladin is one of those archetypes that's only going to get better over time as they have more and more options, and much like a Highlander too, you know, like as they have more and more options and less deck slots that they're filling just to hit the 30 card mark, these decks are going to get more powerful and more refined, just as the general card pool expands as we get more and more expansions every few months.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I like this list, and I like things that they removed for the most part. They took a consecration, which makes as I was kind of talking about earlier, makes a lot of sense with Allura. Again, not the worst thing, but also doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You don't really want consecration going off randomly.
Right.
They took an angling rod, which, while not the worst weapon in the world, again, no real synergy with what this deck is looking to accomplish. I think it was, again, in there for filler.
Versus ceremonial maul. Like, I don't even know if because the deck's really small on my screen here, but like it's just better, right? Like the spell burst effect is crazy. You get a weapon and a taunt. Like,
it's not in Vicious Syndicate's list, but I definitely think we're going to see pure lists that run Ceremonial Maul because it is just a good weapon. And what makes it good is the spell burst. And guess what runs spells? Well, Pure Paladin.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an argument there, argument to be made. But also, if you're Pure Paladin, you can just get free True Silver champions off your Lightforged Zealot.
That too.
So, which on it is worth noting that on Vicious Syndicate's list, that's the only pure trigger card left. They actually ended up taking out Lightforged Crusader, which is one that, like, it's funny to think of it in like a traditionalist sense, or like back in my day, this was the reason we built this deck, because it's not that old of a card. It came in with Ashes of Outland. But I gotta say, like, looking at this list laid out in front of me, I think I agree with it. Like, it seems crazy because of the gas that Lightforged Crusader gives you, but also Paladin's getting some they're getting Devout Pupil. Like, I think, like, it's just, as we mentioned last week, I think this is the closest thing we've seen in a long time to a perfect card. It's just so freaking good. So yeah, I don't think Vicious Syndicate is crazy by any means. But also, I think we're getting just so many quality Paladin cards, or Warrior / Paladin cards, or Priest / Paladin cards, that we're going to see some variants on this. We're definitely, obviously, at the beginning, everyone's going to be figuring everything out. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw variants of the pure Paladin out there. And it just makes a lot of sense to me. So if you can't tell, I'm very excited about this. I'm really excited to get rid of cards that I see as filler in the archetype, just to be a means to an end. Amber Watcher, like, okay, again, not the worst minion in the world, but it's not why I'm playing the deck.
Infrarogue in the chat room brings up a good point. What about card draw in this deck?
Well, it doesn't have it.
Yeah.
But
so you are kind of in a top decky kind of a situation, but that's the kind of thing that I think over time you'll find a card or two, the sort of thing that you thought was going to be good, but maybe sticks in your hand, and maybe you can, slot some card draw into those, 1 or 2 deck slots and kind of work around that, because those are the little refinement things that I expect to happen over the first couple of weeks of playing this deck.
Well, it's also worth mentioning that the most popular pure lists right now run no card draw.
Yeah.
And they are finding success.
And they're fine, yeah.
And you know what? It's obviously not the sexiest card draw in the world, but I misspoke on Vicious Syndicates. It does have card draw, but it's a one of its Salhet's Pride, which on the Death Rattle draws 2 1-health minions from your deck.
Oh, okay.
So Vicious Syndicates.
What are the 1-health minions in your deck?
Not Eldor Attendant. Oh my God, the hover over is not playing well, because I don't remember off the top of my head.
But there's a couple anyways.
Yeah, I believe so. What the hell is actually? Oh, it's Imprisoned Sun Gill. It's the Imprisoned Sun Gill. Yeah. And also your Murgur
and the
McGurgle.
McGurgles.
Yeah. McGurgle. I always think of the prime. I don't think of the base freaking minion. So yeah, they are indeed there. So, but yeah, definitely if you're the type of person that gets anxiety around that playing card draw, which I kind of do, I can understand your aversion to the archetype. But
the Argent Braggart. Yeah, man, that card is ridiculous because like I wasn't 100% sure how I thought that it worked, but then when I saw people playing it in the like when they were doing the theory crafting streams.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. For audio listeners that aren't looking at the card right now, the Argent Braggart is the 1/1 for 2 that gains the attack and health to match the highest that is currently on the battlefield, which in a deck that wants to be buffing minions is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought that it would work this way, but like I thought that it would gain the same across both stats, but then that would be kind of crazy because then you would just like, does it look at the highest attack and health like and figure out which number's higher and give you both stats? But it doesn't. It says like, okay, the highest attack minion on the board is 3, the highest health minion is 6. So therefore the Braggart becomes a 3/6. I don't know why I had in my head that it was just always going to be like the same, no matter like the same stats, but no, it doesn't. It picks the highest attack and highest health. And yeah, weird for some reason in my head. It's not how I pictured it working.
More often than not, Josh, you blow my mind with things that I didn't think about. And other times I sit here going, how does your brain work the way that it does sometimes? Like that's one where I'm like, I would have never in a million years assumed that's how the card worked.
I think it's because the base card is a 1/1 that I just had in my head that like the attack and the health were the same. And so like, however it figured out what was the highest, or maybe I was thinking that like things generally have the same attack and health as I'm looking at all the paladin cards you've got in the notes and none of them have the same attack and health. Like, I don't know how that got in my head or where that came from.
That did that, but not paladin. So yeah, anyway.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know.
Super stoked about this. I want to give an honorable mention to Totem Shaman. If just go listen to the end of last week's episode if you want to hear me go on about why I'm excited about the future of Totem Shaman. I'm not going to get into it again here. But Josh, what are you most excited to play? Like you're done opening your cards. You've already gotten every card in the set, despite the fact that you only open like 40 packs. What are you going to go create and play on day one?
So I think the thing that I'm most excited about is kind of like I don't necessarily know if I want to say like the return of Handlock, but the yet again reimagining of Handlock, because Handlock has just been this staple of Hearthstone for so long. And then there were like some hand manipulation things that kind of worked, kind of didn't work, but we saw people like playing around with that. And now I feel like now that we have the soul fragment mechanic that they share with demon hunters, and also like it's really interesting to me as well, because this deck could potentially make use of the like both things that Warlock is like dual classed with. So the soul fragment stuff they share with Demon Hunter alongside the kind of manipulating your health stuff that they share with Priest. And why this is so interesting is the one that I was talking about, how, you know, like I was excited about just the idea of Handlock maybe before we'd even seen all the cards, was because of Flesh Giant. So with Flesh Giant, every time, like with the wording on the card, it counts not only like your hero power that'll be lowering your health, but also the soul fragments that when you draw them will be healing you up. Plus you have Nether Breath that can heal you as well. And so like both of those health fluctuations are going to be discounting Flesh Giant. So I don't think it's going to be out of the realm of possibility to get one of these giants down around the same amount of time that you would normally see the mountain giants come down in Handlock. But you're going to be able to like actually do things on your first few turns instead of just like pass, tap, pass, 8/8. Like you're going to be actively doing things and then also playing the 8/8. So yeah. I think it's a really interesting new way. And as you're kind of like tapping, you're not just always hurting yourself because of the addition of soul fragments. Those soul fragments are just going to be like healing you up randomly throughout the course of the game when you draw them. So I think this is a really cool intersection of these dual class cards, whether it's the way they originally, thought to design them or not. I think it's really interesting because of the crossover between priest and warlock. And so you get those like the warlock almost gets to like double dip because they can damage themselves and heal themselves at the same time. Like priest kind of gets screwed.
Yeah, I'm sure multiple people tried it out on stream during like the theory crafting streams. But did you see Firebat? Because I know I was watching specifically him playing a warlock with soul fragments and plot twist, and it works just as beautifully as you would hope and dream it does. And again, those sorts of things, like, I don't know. I find the theory crafting streams really, yeah,
I was watching Regis when he was playing.
I find it amusing because of like the dichotomy of community opinion of like, I love it, I hate it, it's the worst thing ever. Yeah. And I'm just like, more often than not, most of what they're playing is like terrible because they're in a real bubble of a meta. But it doesn't. For me, I get a lot out of it just seeing things in practice. And I personally like them better than the reveal streams. I think the reveal streams are like really canned. The decks are terrible most of the time.
I would almost like if they just did like, maybe not even like theory crafting, but if they gave them like canned decks, but then just like let everybody stream and then just had a central like play Hearthstone stream where they were like, oh, hey, now Regis is playing with this cool priest deck and let's jump over to Firebat on the warlock and just like showcase cards that way. Because you're right, like, especially now that they're not in the same place, like the already awkward streams have gotten even more awkward because of the, it's harder to pick up cues when you're not in person. So yeah, I like the theory crafting idea, or like I like watching all my favorite streamers play with the new cards even ahead of me. I think that's fine. But yeah, maybe they could incorporate that with the card reveals somehow and not necessarily let them build decks, because I understand where other people are coming from too, saying that, I want to be the one to experiment with this combo before anyone else. I mean, you could just not watch, but yeah, it takes over Twitch for the day. Well, it really does.
Just to save us some email, do not send in your emails or tweets or anything going, well, it ruins the experience on day one because people already know what decks. It's just like, I don't want to hear, I don't care. Doesn't matter. People are already theory crafting. And they're definitely not logging enough games to know without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. And like you said, they're in a bubble, right? Like,
yeah. We all thought at the Summit for Ashes of Outland that Token Demon Hunter was like the most busted version of Demon Hunter, and it was not.
Yeah, it didn't even hardly hit the radar compared to the other Demon Hunter builds.
I came back like a raving lunatic, like I was naked with a sandwich sign going like the end is near and its name is Libram Paladin. Like I thought it was the most bananas thing I'd ever played, and then of course the expansion got onto the hands of the actual player base.
Yeah, which is literally millions of people.
Yes, yeah, and very, very quickly. There's no substitute for the sheer monumental, colossal amount of games that are logged within the first 48 hours of an expansion launch.
Right.
So,
but yeah, so I'm excited to see this kind of like new twist on Handlock. I think it's definitely got some legs. They've kind of got everything now in terms of they've got AoE removal still. They've got mid to late game threats. They've got like spot removal because they got the Brittlebone Destroyer, which alongside the Spirit Jailer is really, really, or sorry, not Spirit Jailer. The little dude, I think he's a neutral guy that lets you have a free hero power. I can't remember his name. He's anyways. Little neutral guy that gives you a free hero power. You can just kind of like play him and then get a free tap like that alongside potentially Raise Dead is the other card that I'm sort of a tour guide. I think you guys are right. Thank you, chat room. The tour guide. So the tour guide will allow you to, there he is. Tour guide. Your next hero power costs 0. So you can kind of like play that. You don't have to hero power that turn. It's the kind of thing that just carries over. So you could be sitting there with a 0 mana activator for a lot of this stuff where it's waiting for your hero's health to change. So you could literally play like a spot removal Brittlebone Destroyer on curve, kill one of your opponent's minions, and also have a 3/3 on turn 4. Like, that's crazy. That's so much tempo. So I think that I think there's some really cool stuff here. Raised Dead, I'm wondering if potentially there's going to be a space for this. I think it's going to be really dependent on the actual meta and how stuff shakes out, because I think like it's a good way to kind of activate your health changing. It's 0 mana, so like I said, it's another way you can combo it with the Destroyer in order to be able to kill any minion. And then also you get some stuff like you get 2 friendly minions that died back in your hand, right? So if you find that you're running out of resources, then you've got a couple more you can add back to your hand. And then adding cards to your hand also plays into a lot of the hand manipulation stuff, like the Twilight Drakes and the Abyssal Summoner, the one that gives you the taunt depending on your hand size. From is that from Ashes of Outland? I feel like it's
think so.
I think it might be. Anyways, from a previous expansion. So yeah, like I think that there's the Raised Dead could maybe potentially find a spot in this deck. But yeah, just overall, there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm really excited about. And I think Soul Fragments kind of really give this deck some gas because of all the healing.
Yeah, it was
when you draw them.
Descent of Dragons, by the way, on Abyssal Summoner.
Oh, Descent of Dragons. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't help that she has like green fell sky behind her. So I was like, it's totally Outland. And then, like, that's a dragon wing embossed behind the text on the card. There go me. So.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like the first thing that I think I'm gonna try is taking a look at like a soul fragment hand lock or soul lock or soul hand lock, whatever we end up calling it. But I think that one I'm really excited about. I think it's going to be super cool, and I think it's going to be pretty powerful. And then the second thing I'm excited about is, so this deck doesn't run Puzzle Box. So Garrett, you should be happy about it. It's still super random, but there's no Puzzle Box.
It's a mage deck. I'm assuming. It's a mage deck, I'm assuming.
It is a mage deck. Yes. It's the kind of like leaning as far into the Mozaki craziness as possible. So. Oh,
rad. Okay. Yeah. Cause we got into Mozaki a decent amount last week. Cause I want to go to bat for that card. I feel like Mozaki, like, I think it's easy with the power level of everything we've looked at to be like, gains spell damage. But like I brought up, and then you and Vigil also got into a discussion, like that's going to add up very quickly because of how cheap spells are in Mage.
Yeah, so that's kind of the idea here. So when or at least of the deck that I'm going to try, I don't know if it's going to work. I feel like this is going to be one of those crazy combo things that when it works, it's going to be super fun, but it's going to work like 1 out of 5 times. But like, and I don't think that this deck gets there outside of this big crazy combo. Like it doesn't really have a whole lot of other like win conditions. So the general idea is you kind of take the mana cyclone, like evocation, random spell generation core. You include mana giants, which get cheaper when you cast things that weren't in your deck. And then you kind of use these things alongside Sorcerer's Apprentice to get a whole bunch of, and most of your deck is just built around 1 mana spells. So you play out Mozaki, you play out a Sorcerer's Apprentice. So that's 7 mana. And then all of your 1 mana spells are free. So you just like you Ray of Frost, you Primordial Studies, you Devolving Missiles, you know, all these things for free, which is ramping up your Mozaki. And then you have 2 natural copies of Arcane Missiles in your deck, as well as 2 Violet Spell Wings, which will, when they die, give you 2 more copies of Arcane Missiles. Those are going to be free. So the idea is you pump up your Mozakis to spell damage like 15, and then you just Arcane Missiles, pew, 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 like 4 times. Yeah. Sorcerer's Apprentice is also key. But yeah, it's a very cool, like leaning in on the random generation craziness, and I love it.
And, you want to bring back Casino Mage?
That's kind of basically what it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what they say, Jocelyn. Mozaki, mo damage.
Do they say that? Do they really?
Surely they must, or I am an a-hole. Well,
but yeah, so you could also put Kael'thas in this deck, like maybe, but I don't think you need him because of all the 1-mana spells and how they're free on Sorcerer's Apprentice. I don't think you need him. All your spells are free. Who cares if your third one is extra free?
Maybe if you don't get there and they're not free, maybe probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Slissa is rating us with over 600 people. Thank you, Slissa.
Hi, Slissa. Thank you so much for the love.
Also, I was watching Slissa on Twitch again, and I was on a mad losing streak once again in Battlegrounds. I have gained like 500 points on my Smurf account in the last like 2 days. I learned some pointers. So, double thanks to Slissa. Welcome, Slissa crew. Before we get into this week's Hearthstone news, we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. Our Patreon has all kinds of perks for you. Access to our Discord, an ad-free version of the feed. So go check it out. Patreon.com/TAC. And to some of our more recent patrons, we want to thank Andrew Fwong, Bhavik Ganda, and Night Vision. Apparently just the technology Night Vision is sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. So
amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so very much, everyone, for your support. Go check it out. Patreon.com/TAC. And speaking of that ad-free feed, we have a sponsor to thank on today's episode. Honey is back sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. And you should go check them out because you can get honey for free over at joinhoney.com/TAC right now. Listen, we all shop online. We've all seen that promo code just sit there and taunt us. And I don't mean like a taunt in Hearthstone. I mean more like it's insulting your person. Just like, I know I could save some money if I just knew what code to put in here. Well, honey takes that concern, that anxiety, it does the work for you. It automatically goes and finds coupon codes to put into those promo code fields. It's a browser extension, so it just sits there on your browser. And when you go to shop, it goes, hey, you want me to see if I can save you some money? And you're like, sure, honey, please do. And Jocelyn, I did this, and I saved a whopping $8.70 on these absolutely ridiculous sunglasses. Which if you're watching the video version of the podcast, you can see.
You're missing out if you're audio only right now because Garrett, your face is amazing right now.
So you can probably see the show notes right now. You can probably see where it says.
Absolutely. I'm going to close mine and just read them off your sunglasses.
Great. Wonderful. So, I was, these were too ridiculous not to buy. And I wasn't even thinking about it, Jocelyn. I went to go check out and honey just popped up like, yo, found a coupon. I'm like, all right.
Now I'm definitely getting them.
Yeah, now I'm definitely getting them. So now I have a ridiculous pair of sunglasses to shield my eyes from the harmful Florida sun. It's bright and hot as hell here. So go check them out. If you don't already have honey, you could straight up be missing out on free savings. It's literally free and installs in just a few seconds. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and you're going to support this podcast in the process. So go get honey for free over at joinhoney.com/TAC. That's joinhoney.com/TAC. Go check them out. And now let's get into this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
I'm muted. I know we got a patch, Joss. I know we talked about at the top of the show that we usually record on Wednesdays, which means this is a pre-expansion episode and not a post-expansion episode. But there was a patch because also last Thursday they were like, "Yo, here's a patch that we didn't announce ahead of time." So if you are a content creator, you had no chance in hell of planning anything around this. You just had to do it, and I was doing another.
Well, this is the pre-expansion patch, right? So this is the stuff this put in the pre-order and all the other fanciness, including class-specific weapon frames are a thing now, even though some of them are really hard to see.
Some of them are, but it's way better than they used to be because before all of them were hard to see.
That's true. Very true.
Very, very difficult to tell weapons apart. And now that we've got a neutral weapon, it makes complete sense that now we know. We
that
also
it would
have
actually matter. Yeah, because the deck building restrictions aren't there.
Yep. And tomorrow we're about to get dual class weapons, which is all the more confusing.
Yes.
So, of course, makes a lot of sense, but that is now in. Every class-specific weapon has a specific frame. You can go see this right now. If you go into your Hearthstone game, you probably already noticed. We also got more... Let me put it this way. Additional faster animations, not more faster animations.
We got more faster.
We got more faster animations, Jocelyn. And we were both stoked about this the first time they did it, because this was in regards to Battlegrounds, right? Like we were just sitting there like, if I have to sit through another 3-minute Poison Murloc animation board, I'm going to throw something at my screen. And if my screen is a mobile device, it means I will be throwing my screen. So,
well, that's another thing that they actually added, though, was that poison damage has a special indicator, and that to me feels way slower. Like, I really hope that they revisit that, because it feels like that little indicator thing is just sits there forever while all my other minions are zipping around behind it in Battlegrounds.
I hadn't thought about that one. Didn't strike me as any different. It feels the same length to me, but I'm sure someone has done a side-by-side comparison and could prove or refute that. So anyway, I like faster animations. The spells created by evocation are now going to disappear all at the same time at the end of turn instead of one by one. Like, thank God. They removed the delay from the damage effect of Mad Bomber and Demolisher. Not that I was seeing this very often. Makes me like...
Don't you play Demolisher in every deck, Garrett? It's like the best card in the game.
I was not teeing you up to...
We're going back to 2014, Joss, at this point.
I was not teeing you up to preach the good word of Demolisher. I knew it was going to happen, though, so I accepted. This is the kind of thing when I see it on what I would consider obscure cards. I'm like, are they going to... I guess Demolisher would make no sense in Battlegrounds, but Mad Bomber could work.
Maybe.
That would it would always hit me. It would always hit my minions, not me, or not my opponents. They reduced the delay between casting Plot Twist and its shuffling animation. Thank God, because I'm definitely gonna be playing freaking Warlock with Plot Twist and Soul Shards come tomorrow. So this makes me happy.
It still takes a while to actually draw the cards, though, right? Like they haven't like updated the cards that you draw with Plot Twist at all. Like it's still the normal card animation, so that takes a long time. But
yeah, it's listen, baby steps.
At least half the animation's shorter.
Yeah, I'll take what I can get in this regard. Yeah, they specifically state the delay between casting it and then the shuffling animation. Shuffling animation, yeah, absolutely should be sped up in my opinion. And then, I mean, again, watching the streams for theory crafting, you add the effect for soul shards into that, and it's just like goodness. So check that. Also, it's unlisted in this patch, but you can now turn off screen shake in Hearthstone's options.
So that's something you actually have to go into the options to do. It's not, when you say like unlisted, it's not some crazy keystroke combo. No, sorry. Like streamer mode. Like it's just not in the patch notes, but it's something that you just do in the options.
Yeah. Okay. What I mean by unlisted is it's not in the patch notes. It's in the options.
Awesome. I am going to go turn that off right now.
Yeah, they just didn't draw attention to it. I saw it because Hadija tweeted about it. And I think Hadija was retweeting someone else's tweet that was pointing out that this had kind of snuck in. So that was really cool. I like to see that. I don't mind the screen shake, but I know it's like real bother for certain players. So I'm glad that it's an option. I think
it didn't bother me so much when your like big screen shaking minions in Constructed would happen once or twice a game. When you finally got a swing in with like a giant or something, then it was like, yeah, okay, you know what? That's fine. I started to notice it way more when it was just like big minions all the time in Battlegrounds and stuff. And it just felt like my screen was just always shaking. And I was like, why? Just stop, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the big part of this patch is obviously the Battleground stuff, which we'll get to in a bit when we get to our Battleground segment. But also, as is usual, we're getting Legendary and launch quests. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow when you get into the game. On August 6th, we're going to get a play 25 cards in play mode to earn 2 Skullomance card packs. On the 7th, we're going to get a play 20 spells in any mode quest to earn 2 more Skullomance packs. And then on August 8th, will get a win 3 games in any mode quest to earn 2 Scholomance Academy card packs. So
finally, Battlegrounds Awards.
Technically, yeah.
On August 8th only.
But it's not a reward for Battlegrounds. It's a reward that you can get by playing Battlegrounds.
But still, yeah, I feel included.
Listen, tomorrow is very much a day for constructed players. And
it is.
And
it definitely
let
is.
them have their day. Battlegrounds has been the new hotness for quite some time now. Even post Outlands release, like I go to Twitch and it's just like, my God, the top like 5 streamers are freaking playing Battlegrounds. It really made a splash.
Yeah.
What is a continuing splash? I guess it is they install a fountain
wave?
after a wave. No, a wave is also over eventually.
Eventually, but it lasts longer than a sploosh. A wave is longer than a sploosh, Garrett. Come on.
Are we still doing phrasing? So yeah. And they're updating the free decks for new and returning players, which is something that since I do not benefit from, I don't think of very often. But when they originally added this in, that you're going to be able to go in if you hadn't logged into Hearthstone for a long time, 120 consecutive days to be exact, that you were going to be able to go get a pretty decent deck for free for a class of your choice. And they're actually updating the deck recipes for those decks, which I believe we knew they were going to do. But damn, I think they made some great choices here. If I like right off the top, I would go with the warrior list because it's basically like a solid meta pirate warrior that includes Ankar. So go get like a guaranteed Ankar. That's wonderful. Like, go check it out. So, but also there's Galacron.
Is the mage deck? The mage deck is a spell mage, right? It's not the
it's a spell only mage.
The Highlander anymore.
No, it is not the Highlander anymore. Even though I think we both agreed that Highlander would have been the pick before.
Yeah, just because it had so many legendaries and stuff that if you decided you didn't want to play Highlander Mage, that was okay. You could get rid of them and get a lot of dust for it. I think it was the highest disenchant value of all of the decks. So I don't know which one it is off the top of my head from these new ones, but yeah. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong going with the warrior deck because pirate warrior is great. Even over in wild, there's a lot you can do with pirate warrior. It's one of the most popular decks over on that side of things too. So, I mean, that's a solid starting point, I think. Yeah.
Although I think most of these are Galacron, Shaman. I mean, I would personally rather go with Totem, and I think it's going to get even better after the expansion tomorrow. But it's still a solid deck list. Galacron Rogue really hasn't gone away. Libram Paladin, I think, is about to get amazing. Highlander Hunter, Dragon Druid, Galacron Warlock, Spell Mage, as we mentioned, and Res Priest are the other options. So unfortunately, they are.
Why are you promoting that, Hearthstone?
Why? Why? Yeah, whatever. I'm not going to get back on the I'm tired of Res Priest bandwagon. Anyone who listens to this show with any regularity is fully aware of my stance on Res Priest. Although, yes, stomp a F in chat for F Res Priest. Joss, what's going on in Hearthstone esports before we talk about Battlegrounds?
It's a year of killing all day.
Could you say that slower?
Okay, so my first reaction to this news was super duper sad because I saw a no context tweet about Gallon announcing that he was leaving the Hearthstone GM program. And I was like, man, that really sucks. You know, I loved watching him play. He was great, but it turns out he's not leaving because he's retiring from Hearthstone or anything crazy like that. He's retiring from competitive Hearthstone because he's been hired by Team 5. So he is now going to be developing the game, which is amazing. So then I was super happy. And then we found out that Killin' All Day was actually promoted to Grandmasters in Gallon's place. So Grandmaster Season 2 starts on August 14th. So you guys can start watching in a couple days. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. Year of Killin' All Day has been like a Hearthstone esports meme for like, I think the first year of Killin' All Day was 2017, if I remember correctly. And he's kind of like, he's a really great player. He's really fun to watch. And he's been on the cusp of total amazeness. And he should have been one of the people included in the original Grandmasters program. It was kind of amazing that he didn't make that cut. So all is right in the universe.
You could probably rewind to the episode we talk about Grandmaster's announcement, and I'm fairly certain Killing All Day's exclusion was referenced by you, I think.
Yeah. And a little piece of clarification here, because there was a little bit of like speculation / not understanding why Killing All Day actually got the promotion, because Blizzard doesn't really make it obvious who's in the lead for what when it comes to Grandmasters and the Masters Tour, which means that there are kind of third-party sites that are maintaining like who has the highest wins and everything else, and like who's made the most money. And I don't think that we actually talked about it on the show. I believe this was a conversation that we had in the Discord, but basically Impact had actually made more money than Killing All Day when you looked at all of 2020. But Alex Charsky actually got on Twitter and said that they applied the rules for season 1 to backfill the vacancy because season 2 is not started yet. So they only count Masters Tour results for season 1, which was Arlington, LA, and Jönköping, which was the one over in Sweden that was supposed to be DreamHack. So basically they just said, you know what, like if we had a vacancy at the end of season 1, which they consider this all like end of season 1, then we would have filled it using those 3 Masters Tour stops. And the vacancies that come from relegation at the end of season 2, those will be filled with the results from the Masters Tours that we've had since, so like the APAC one that we just had. The there was one other one. Can't remember now. Anyways, there have been 2 more Masters Tour events since Jönköping. And so that plus Montreal, which happens in September, will fill the spots that opened up by relegation. So very, very likely the Impact will be a Grandmaster at the end of season 2.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm glad that they got out and explained it. And it seems like pretty timely as well. There been times in the past where we've been kind of waiting in the dark a little bit for some esports clarification, and this one came down in a good amount of time, a good speed.
Exactly. So, and I mean, Alex's tweet actually lists like the exact rules from the rule book that were applied in this case. So if you guys are like super, super interested in the nitty gritty, the link to his tweet is in our show notes. It's also in the reply to the HS esports announcement. So yeah, it's out there and available.
Cool. Good to know. So good for you, Killing All Day.
Killing All Day.
Glad to see it. I haven't really been thinking about it, I guess, because there's been so much Hearthstone to watch. Like, obviously, Battleground streamers are taking no breaks, and then we've had the theory crafting streams. But yeah, it's actually been a little bit since we've had some Grandmasters to watch. So bring on season 2.
Well, and season 2 is going to start, I think, like 9 days from today. So we're going to get a brand spanking new fresh meta out of our Grandmasters because they're only going to be like a week into the new expansion. So it's going to be a fun weekend of Grandmasters that first couple of weeks, I think. Not the Grandmasters isn't always fun, but yeah, it's going to be even more interesting to see what they think is competitively tournament viable only a weekend. Like, can't wait.
Lots of demon hunters, lots of hunters are my safe prediction.
Maybe they'll have fun, Garrett. You don't know.
We will call it the season of the Hunter.
Man, just get rid of Demon Hunter. Blah. Although Demon Hunter was only brought, I think, by 50% of the Grandmasters at the last event, or sorry, not Grandmasters. 50% of the field at the last Masters Tour event. So at the APAC event, there's only like 50% Demon Hunter representation. So yeah, we're getting there, guys. Only 50% more to go.
Yep. Well, rad. Well, before we move into our Battleground segment, we have one more sponsor to thank for today's episode, and it is HelloFresh. So go check them out over at HelloFresh.com/80TAC and use the code 80TAC. You're going to get $80 off your first box. If you've never tried HelloFresh, they're a fantastic meal kit delivery service, and there's something for everyone. They have low-calorie options, vegetarian options, and also family recipes, and they new recipes every week. HelloFresh also offers contactless delivery to your doorstep for easy home cooking with the family. And the packaging stays super freaking cold. Again, I am in the extremely blazing hot swamp that is Florida, and my deliveries hold up just fine if I can't get to the door anytime soon. You can also easily change your delivery days or food preferences. You can even easily skip a week whenever you need to. If you, for whatever reason, need to take a week off. Not that there's a lot of travel going on right now, but if it is happening for you, you can. And I mean, Jazz, I've been using it for years now at this point. Big fan, and freaking next week is one of my favorite dishes, crispy Parmesan chicken. I didn't know you could do like a layer of sour cream and Parmesan cheese and breadcrumbs on top, and it would like crisp up nicely, and then you still get the creamy sour cream. Again, it's one of the kind of things that once I do it, I'm like, oh, this is like delightfully simple. It's not a lot of work, but I would have never gotten to this dish on my own. And that's what I really dig about it. On top of like the convenience factor, I like learn new things about cooking and pairings and just how to make food that doesn't suck. So yeah, it's rad. You should go check them out. Go to HelloFresh.com/80TAC and use the code 80TAC. That's 80TAC. And you're getting $80 off total, including free shipping on your first box. Additional restrictions apply, and please visit HelloFresh.com for more details. Again, that's $80 off your first box when you go to HelloFresh.com/80TAC and use the code 80TAC. And now, let's talk some Hearthstone Battlegrounds.
Have a good battle, friend.
I will, Bob, because I've actually had the new hero offered to me not only once, but twice.
So have I.
So I guess I shouldn't complain because I was rather lucky with the Pirates update. I got both Hook Tusk and Eudora offered to me multiple times, as well as Crag. And so I got a decent amount of games in with them. And
I still, in all my Battlegrounds games, have not played Eudora.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. I have never been offered her. I just want to dig, Garrett. I just want to dig.
I wish I could cue some Mudvayne right here.
But yeah, I have played now two kitty games.
Two kitty games. I played two kitty games as well, and both were quite good. As a matter of fact, if you go to youtube.com/AMoveTV right now, Joss, I did a thing. I did another Battlegrounds commentary video. My second only ever one, which is a terrible sentence in the wrong order of sentences. Sounded like a drunk Yoda just then. But it was if you want to go see my second ever Bigglesworth game, it's on there. And I put it up for like two reasons. One, I was so salty in that game. Like the early offerings from Bob were just trash. Like
and that can definitely. That can wreck this hero for sure, because you really need to have a just strong base understanding of how Battlegrounds works and what you want to do, just as a tempo strong, objectively strongest minions, because you need to take as little damage as possible, because your hero power, though passive, doesn't kick in until I found in both my games, it started kicking in. And even when I had Bigglesworth in my games and I wasn't playing them, the first person to die was at earliest turn 8. And I think at latest turn 10. So you're in that 8 to 10 turn range before your hero power does anything, which means you need to understand early to mid game Battlegrounds really, really well, because you have no help from your hero power whatsoever at that point in the game.
Yeah. And so for the audio listeners out there, in case you don't have a browser up in front of you, Mr. Bigglesworth's hero power specifically reads, when a player dies, discover a minion from their warband. It keeps any enchantments. This obviously is a passive hero power. It doesn't cost anything. Someone dies at the beginning of your next turn. You are given 3 cards. It's a discover effect. You can see the buffs that are on them. And you pick. You can also see if they're golden or not, which is like the guaranteed value here if you discover a golden. Which again, go watch.
Right, because you play it, it goes in your hand, so you play it out even with those enchantments, so you still get the discover off the golden that you've discovered off of your hero power. So it is incredibly powerful when it happens, especially since it keeps all the enchantments, right?
Yeah. So and it can also it like basically guarantees you're going to rope every freaking turn in the late game as Bigglesworth. There is a bug right now, which you can see in the video. I didn't know what was happening to me at the time, and then I went and researched it after the fact and realized that there's a bug with Bigglesworth that when Bigglesworth's it's hard to say Bigglesworth and then like try and make it possessive. When the kitty's hero power triggers, there is a bug that I believe sometimes, not every time, it can cause the rope or the fuse to last significantly longer than it's supposed to, and you can still interact with your board. You can still buy.
Interesting.
You can still sell. You can still freeze. Like you can just continue doing the tavern phase, which is simultaneously clearly you can exploit it, exploitable, and terrifying. Because I was sitting there and you can see me in the video that I uploaded, like, kind of figure it out and start buying and selling, because I was like, I clearly ran out of time, because I think it was a turn where I discovered, I think 3 people died in the same turn.
That's the other thing to mention, is that it is, if like 2 or 3 people die in one turn, that means at the start of your next turn, you're going to have 2 or 3 or however many players died, you're going to discover from all of their war bands. So it can take up a lot of time off the start. And it's a lot, because then you have to, like you say, play everything, remember your ordering so that you're not like selling stuff to make room. And when you have like full gold and stuff, there's a lot to the later turns in Mr. Bigglesworth that can get overwhelming quite quickly, but he's so fun.
Yeah. I originally, had we done an episode last week, like post the announcement of this, I mean, it was announced and launched like simultaneously. But you know, say we had done an episode and we hadn't had a chance to play Bigglesworth yet, but we knew what Bigglesworth did, I would have been pretty down on this hero. Like, I think on paper, this is not a particularly powerful hero power. And I definitely generally shy away from heroes that don't have like kind of an average value from their hero power over an entire lobby of Battlegrounds. And obviously Bigglesworth kind of checks that box. So, but I'm glad I got to play multiple games with Bigglesworth. Obviously, if Bob just screws you and just offers you nothing but garbage picks, you're just gonna get steamrolled. Because
I feel like that's kind of the way a lot of Battlegrounds games play out, regardless of hero right now. Like, there are some heroes that if you have just total garbage, it's kind of okay. Like Yogg, like you're getting a buff and you're getting a random minion, and if they're all garbage, at least you've got a bigger minion and it was cheaper than it was supposed to be. And you know, like when you've got 5 gold, you get 2 minions. Like, there's some heroes that even when they're given total trash, it's not the end of the world. But the vast majority of Battlegrounds heroes, I think, can get steamrolled really, really quickly if they're offered just really, really bad stuff in the first like 5 or 6 taverns. Yeah.
And so let's hit pause on this for a moment and let's talk about the other big update to Battlegrounds that came in with 18.0, which is 2 new minions. The Menagerie, I called them like filler minions for lack of a better term. Really took a dive after the change to basically the pirate patch, where they said, hey, 1 minion type will be excluded from every lobby and it'll be randomized every lobby you go into, which minion type is excluded. And
pirates will be in every lobby, because that was the other thing, right? Is that you were guaranteed to have pirates in every lobby. Pirates were not considered in the Menagerie. And then one of the things that was in the Menagerie had a good chance of being excluded.
Exactly. So like if you had a no beast game, you're like, well, crap. Like the Menagerie.
Yeah, guaranteed pirates, no beasts. Damn it.
And I mean, Amalgam's been gone forever. So it got a little bit better when Amalgadon got put in, but like, are you excited about drafting Menagerie Edition after you've gotten to the point in the game where you're finding Amalgadon? No. I mean, if you are, I'm not trying to shame you. Like, I'm very glad that you were easily excitable.
You do you.
Yeah, you do you. But anyway, we got 2 new minions. Zubat is out. Menagerie Magician is out, and in their place, in Zubat's place at 2 stars, Menagerie Mug is here. I keep calling it Menagerie Cup because that is very clearly a teacup. You would not call it a teacup. That is a cup. That is not a mug. There's a very big difference.
He looks so mischievous.
Yeah, he does. But Menagerie Mug is a Tavern Tier 2 minion with 2 attack, 2 health, battle cry. Give 3 random friendly minions of different minion types +1/+1. So good.
Yeah, so you're just guaranteed to buff 3 things, assuming you're going a menagerie build and you have 3 different friendly minion types.
Yes. Because I don't think most people try to go a menagerie build, you have been forced to get a random assortment of bull. And it's nice that you can actually get a buff off your cup mug. And then replacing Menagerie Magician is Menagerie Jug, which is a Tavern Tier 4 minion. It's a 3/3 with Battle Cry. Give 3 random friendly minions of different minion types +2/+2, which is basically the golden version of Menagerie Mug. And then the golden version of Menagerie Jug is a 6/6 that gives +4/+4. So with this in mind, this, I think, helps Bigglesworth. I think this actually all kind of works in unison, because if you're having a bad game on Bigglesworth, if Bob is not giving you a clear strategy or a clear synergy in the offerings in the tavern, it means you very likely have a random assortment of minions, and you're very likely are, whether you meant to or not, have 3 different minion types on board. And so the inclusion of Menagerie Mug and Menagerie Jug help this new hero, which I really like. And I have now seen in action through playing Bigglesworth and having just a terrible time with the minions that were offered to me.
I just went straight up, like from the get-go, I went with a menagerie build because I decided that I was just going to take the objectively strongest stuff to try to get through. And in the end game, I didn't want to just be like picking something from my opponents because of the whole keeps all enchantments thing. I didn't want to be taking stuff from my opponents that then I was just going to be selling again, right? Because they invested a lot into their warbands.
Maybe. So, that's the thing I noticed in both my games. The first death of the game gave me trash. Like it was just see ya. Like if I was really lucky, they had a gold. But the gold was something I was most likely, in most cases, taking just for the discover, because it was they probably lost because they still had like a golden Murloc from turn 3 on their board. So that was kind of my thought there. So it's like the mileage really varies with Bigglesworth. If you can have a game like I experienced one game where multiple players died late into the lobby. That was awesome. It was great. I found powerful minions.
I had my 4th place person in one of my Bigglesworth lobbies die with a golden gold grubber that was a 74 something else. And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah, I didn't come across a gold grubber that was that great, but like... I think you'll see it in the VOD that I uploaded. Yeah, it's in there. You'll see that I find a non-golden gold grubber, but it had big enough stats to just keep me alive. That game is skin of my teeth, with a weird sprinkling of some extreme triple luck outside of Big. Go watch it. It was one of the wildest games I've had in a long time. And on top of that, I was texting while I was playing it, so I made a couple very terrible misplays. So if you want to judge me, by all means, youtube.com/amovetv. But like I said, I've really come around on the kitty. When I first saw the hero power, I was like, oh man, I don't know, that doesn't seem great. And I don't think Bigglesworth is gonna set the meta on fire. I could totally see Bigglesworth not being picked if offered in certain lobbies. And last I checked, I'm going again over to HS Replay, Bigglesworth was kind of like dead center of the pack. Actually, I'm having trouble finding Bigglesworth. Did you go up, Bigglesworth? Bigglesworth went up a whopping 0.1 since the last time I checked, coming in at an average placement of 4.79, nestling right in between Patchwork and Rat King. So not the best, not the worst, but if you can make it the late game, Bigglesworth
I think
is pretty rad.
He's definitely a late game hero as opposed to, some of the others.
Yeah, and the placement distribution, I know we love talking about the placement distribution curve on HS Replay. Again, not sponsored. HS Replay, if you want to, by all means. It looks really similar to Flurgle's.
I know, that's the one that I was going to say too, is it looks like Flurgle. It actually kind of looks like another one you've got on the screen right now in Dino Tamer Bran.
Yeah,
A lot of firsts or lasts with Bigglesworth.
Yeah,
but
I like Bigglesworth though, because I think if you're just like a generally solid Battlegrounds player, like if you can eke out a 4th or 5th place finish with bad games, I think you're going to do good with Bigglesworth, because if you know how to draft safely and efficiently, I think you're going to do okay. So
yeah, I agree. And I think like the difference between him and Flurgle is that with Bigglesworth, you're not necessarily, though I went Menagerie both times and it worked out really well, you could still pick another comp. With Flurgle, you're so like you're pushed straight down that Murloc path, right? But Bigglesworth, you're not forced into any minion tribe, like any specific comp. You can kind of like do whatever you think is going to work in your lobby, which is just it's such a huge advantage, right? To not be forced down a specific path in a game like Battlegrounds, where your tavern offerings are going to be totally random, right? So
yep, yeah, absolutely. And Stomp in the chat room brings up a good point on the Mug and the Jug, that they're both 1/1 lower stats than what they replaced, and that obviously Subot was a mech and Menagerie Mug is Mug. Which is
minion type ceramics.
Yeah, which is worth mentioning. But yeah,
They also look straight out of Karazhan, by the way. Like at first I thought these were actually from that expansion.
Did you actually go check? Or are they not? Because I thought the same thing.
No, I don't think they are.
To go check.
Yeah.
Oh, Sampa says they are.
Oh, they are. Oh, well, that explains it. Why did we never? Because the wording is different. Oh, they are from the adventure. I don't ever remember seeing these in Constructed ever.
Yeah, me not. Well, yeah, I think they were strictly from the adventure.
Oh, they weren't playable. Okay.
Oh,
that makes more sense.
Right. There was an encounter that was like the dining hall.
Oh, and, yeah. It's all coming back to me now.
They had all of this art done they were like literal names of just utensils, because Menagerie Mug was just called Cup, by the way. Just called Cup. I have it up now.
Okay.
Here we go. I've got the full art courtesy of the Hearthstone Gamepedia. And where did it go? Yeah.
There it is.
Freaking Cup. I knew it.
Okay.
Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah, the fork. I remember the fork now.
Yep. I was looking at it, I'm like, I'm fairly certain this is Karazhan, and I'm definitely too lazy to go look it up. But
yeah, so from single player Karazhan.
Yep. Which is not the first time they've done this. They have been repurposing adventure art. That's where, as Slyssa would call it, Ralph came from. Our good friend the Sorlisk came from an adventure. It was the Ruskin Rumble, the one I didn't play.
Yep.
So, but I really like this update. I'll be honest, Joss, I was salty when I first saw these notes and nothing was being done about Murloc. And I still stand by that Murloc is a little too ridiculous. However,
I think everyone is on the same page, and Murloc's been around since the get-go. So everything okay?
Yeah. My cat just like broke the door open.
Oh.
So yeah,
he just really wanted to say hi to Thrall.
Apparently, yeah. Audio listeners, you're missing out on Joss's majestic cat, and now all of my animals breaking into the room and making noise. So, but yeah, my point being, okay, guys, okay, chill. 1 sec. I'm gonna stop pretending like there aren't dogs fighting in my office and just deal with it. Come here. All right.
Man.
Old cranky Chihuahua is just going to hang out with me. Yeah. How you doing? Hey, you just wanted to be on the podcast. So, Bailey, what do you think of the Murloc meta in Battlegrounds? Oh, it's busted, and everyone knows how to do it now, and they should do something about it. I agree, Bailey.
Thrall is purring, so I think he's a fan of fish people.
He's a fan of fish people. Okay, Thrall.
Yeah,
all right. That's fine. That's fine. But no, in all seriousness, what I was getting to is, I think it has gotten a little better. And this is hard for me to admit because I was really on the Murloc warpath for a bit there. I really wanted them to like just smack them with a Nerf bat. But with Amalgadon and now decent Menagerie synergy, you can fight them. You can kind of fight fish people with Amalgadon. Like you can fight fire with fire. It's just like you don't necessarily have fish people. You have Amalgadon, and also you have a way to kind of like put together like a budget Murloc comp through Amalgadons, which is a ridiculous thing to say because it's late game. But you need such like specific cards.
Well, but Murloc's getting super out of control. That's late game too.
Right, exactly. But it requires more cards, and it's like takes some setup or brand multi-token generation to make goldens and whatnot type of stuff. Yeah. I gotta tip my hat to the team a little bit because I've been pretty grumpy. I've tried to keep in check on the show, but like us on Discord, I'm just like, F them. This is stupid. This is dumb. How have they not done anything? But I do think through Amalgadon and now the Menagerie adjustments, it's alleviated a bit of my Murloc fatigue. So that being said, damn if the Murloc free lobbies aren't the most interesting ones to play in right now.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Murloc free lobbies as well. And I think that we should get another big update, right? Because they're usually doing big Battlegrounds updates in and around expansions. So
yeah, the pirate update did take, I think,
it was a little bit longer. Yeah. And I think that that one was a little bit longer, but I think, looking at it and thinking, okay, we're going to get another really, really big Battlegrounds update in a month or less from tomorrow being the expansion launch. I think that's okay. I'm okay with that. Like if I have to deal with Murlocs for a few more weeks, that's all right. Cause I'm probably mostly going to be playing constructed in the middle of a new expansion. So I think, overall I'm okay with the timing. If we get the next big Battlegrounds update and they don't do anything about Murlocs at all, and Megasaur's still in there and Brand's still a thing, I'm gonna join your salt train.
Okay, so never mind. This is why it feels so long. It was 2 months because Ashes of Outland came out on April 7th, and the pirate patch 17.4 dropped on June 9th. So it was a full 2 month wait. And so, 2 months from tomorrow.
But they did say when that happened, though, a month or 2 months doesn't really matter. I thought they said that when that patch hit, it was longer than they had originally intended. That they wanted to. I thought that was an XR tweet. They normally wanted stuff closer. Maybe I'm just making stuff up. But
probably, but also this was like, like the ground zero of COVID. Like it had just happened, and so that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, that things might have been pushed back a little bit. Plus, I don't know exactly who does what on the back end, but if we're talking, game designers and stuff, they also launched their first new class since ever. So they're
usually pretty compartmentalized.
I could see they'd be potentially super busy.
Exactly. So anyways, overall happy with it. If we give like one more small update, I think between now, if not possibly two, could I ask for 2 small updates? Because if we're gonna have to wait 2 months, it'd be great to have one Battlegrounds update per month until we get there. But one more, I think I'll be all right. I'll get there. I'm pretty interested, just with the little mini updates we've had. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it again. Been having a good time. I'm playing the crap out of my Smurf account again. So it's closing in on my main account once more, which means then I'll swap back to my main account and move that forward, or fall horribly backwards because I overestimate my abilities. We'll see. But anyways, before we end the show, we want to hear from you all. So let's go over into the mailbag and take an email.
Hello.
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com if you want to be a part of the show. If you're a patron, you can drop us a message in the Discord directly. And in fact, you can @ either one of us. And if we're around, we'll just start chatting. How you doing, patron Discord? Y'all hanging out? You doing well today? I would click in and see, but then everyone would see the patron Discord instead of Joss's face because that's actually how we're talking right now. But I hope you're all doing okay over there right now. Jocelyn, who is our email from today?
We got an email from Brenton who says, provoked peeps. Get it? Because baby marshmallow chickens?
I don't think we've gotten that one before.
Well, I don't think we have either.
I think that's a unique one. Well played, Brenton.
So Brenton goes on to say, I play a lot of Wild, more than standard these days. While I do sometimes see a decent variety of decks, I feel the power level of a small handful of powerful decks keep a lot of decks that had been lost to the sands of time from getting a chance. Many decks that were viable during their 2-year standard spotlight have simply fizzled away when up against Wild's current top decks. I realize not everyone plays Wild, but plenty do, and many of these players have put in a lot of time and money since the game's launch. I propose the idea of Wild mini expansions. The focus would be to create new cards that give an extra push to decks that were once viable, but can no longer quite make it when up against today's top Wild decks. These new cards could also be created to assist decks that had promise during their 2 standard years, but were always a card or 2 away from being viable. These Wild mini expansions could take place between standard expansions, maybe once per year or so. There could be a couple of cards per class, plus some neutrals, maybe around the size of an old adventure. Along similar lines, I'd love to see buffs to cards in Wild that had fun, unique ideas, but never quite became competitive. I know Blizzard largely doesn't touch old cards because they want players to focus on the new shiny thing, but the point here is that we already earned and or paid for those cards once upon a time and never really got to use them. What are your thoughts on Wild mini expansions? What decks or strategies that no longer have representation and never quite made the cut would you like to see get some help? By the way, Resurrect Priests can burn in hell. Oh, that deck. I'm tired of it. Anywho, thank you for the fun distractions in a difficult time. I hope you and yours are staying healthy. So I kind of love this idea. I love the idea of infusing a couple of cards per class and maybe a few neutrals into a mode to spice it up and to kind of like shore up decks against these crazy, because the whole point of Wild is they're supposed to be like crazy off the wall weird combo things, right? So I think adding more decks into that mix is definitely a good thing, and it's like a new and interesting way to balance Wild. We've seen them do Wild balance patches, but I think an infusion of cards would kind of like get people to pay attention to the mode a little bit more so than just like buffs and nerfs. They could be like, oh, that seems like a cool archetype. Maybe I'll jump over to Wild and give it a try. I like this idea. I think it's just a little bit more interesting than straight up like buffs and nerfs.
Yeah, I do too. It's such a fun idea. Like, I don't want to get to where my brain goes, which is like, it would be difficult to make a splash in Wild because of the power. It has every card ever, and so the power level of effective decks are stratosphere. Like, they are just out of this
right. But
world.
then like you could, because they're Wild only, print absolutely off the wall cards, right? If you're only going to do 1 or 2 cards per class at a time, you could do something like super crazy. That's like, hey, do you miss Q Block? Which I know people still play Q Block, but like, hey, do you miss Q Block? Here's Cube on steroids that gives you 18 copies of something, because why not?
Yeah, I mean, we're in absolute, Fantasyland, so it could be whatever we want.
I was going to call it Shenanigans Land, but yeah.
Shenanaland?
Shenanaland.
Shenanaland. Trademark TAC 2020. Yeah, it's just, I can't help but try and think of it with like a realistic hat on. Which is ridiculous. That's Evil Twin. But like, why, I guess, force ourselves to make cards for like every class? Why not like zero in on classes that maybe don't have super powerful decks and just like be like, we'll just make a card when we get inspired that we think will make a splash, that we think will shore up what is almost a cool competitive archetype. That kind of stuff would be really, really cool. And then,
so more like, instead of treating Wild like an offshoot of Standard, apply more of like a Battlegrounds mentality and game design to it, where it's like, oh, hey, we noticed that, there some different tribe or minion type needs more support. So here we added an extra thing like Floating Watcher. Like, demons aren't doing so great. Have a fancy demon. Go play demons in Battlegrounds. Like, more of that kind of a game design philosophy to the Wild mode, instead of kind of forcing it down the standard constructed competitive esport line of game design thinking.
Yeah. Work with the work with the format. Like,
Yeah.
Respect the format, design within the format. Not that they've like completely ignored it. It's been pretty rad seeing them actually make changes to cards that are now only wild legal. But it's still few and far between. And I don't think anyone is going to make an argument that wild gets too much support.
Yeah.
So, and like, I would like them to go one further. Like if I want to put on my serious pants, like the way the trend in gaming now is like the popular content is going to get the most updates. So standard and Battlegrounds, that's where the views are on Twitch. I am certain that correlates to that's where the player numbers are in the game. I think probably the one outlier that we definitely don't talk about on the show very much is the Brawl. I bet Tavern Brawl is a very popular mode in the game because of the rewards in there. I'm sure it sees an absolute ton of players checking in every week. But I would really like to see, and we've said it before and I will say it again, I would really like to see wild tournaments by Blizzard.
Well, and the thing is, like, you're talking about player base, you're talking about view numbers on Twitch. I feel like that's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because if you go into Hearthstone and look at the game modes and you say, okay, most of our viewers and most of our players are playing these two modes, then you go, okay, so we're going to update those two modes. And then people are like they want to see the new hotness. So then you get more eyeballs on those two modes. And then they go, oh, hey, look, all of the eyeballs are on those modes. We should update them. And then eyeballs are like, hey, where's the new hotness? Okay. And it's just like this constant cycle in those game modes while the other ones are kind of sitting there going, hey, we're cool too. Let's have fun. Come on over here, update us. So I think that like, as much as like, yes, that's where the attention is, it's not like the wild tournament got no attention, right? Like, I think that with the proper amount of investment, wild could be a really, really cool and interesting and eyeball grabbing section of Hearthstone. And right now it's just not on the scale of Battlegrounds and Constructed. And that's really too bad because there's some super cool stuff happening over there because it's meant to be wild and crazy.
Yeah.
So like if you want the ridiculous like combo blowout plays and turns, like that's the place to go. And I feel like they don't, and we've said this since wild became a mode, they don't promote it enough. They don't put enough into it. Like, not that they have totally ignored it, but it's definitely not their focus. And that's really too bad because there's some really cool stuff going on.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And I'd just like to see a little more support thrown its way. So I really feel like wild's never been given the chance to shine. And I realize we kind of already got into it, but like if it were to get like more support from Blizzard in terms of big hype events, there's always a concern that wild is going to be too samey for too long because again, that power level, but what Brenton suggests here, or something along this lines, I'm not saying it has to be verbatim this, could do a lot to alleviate that. And I think there's worse problems to have. Like if you're concerned like, oh no, wild is popular, we need to spice up the meta. Like, well, cool. That's a good problem to have. You have another mode in your game that is popular and potentially bringing in players that are or viewers or both that you otherwise wouldn't have had.
Well, and I feel like if you invest in wild, you're also potentially investing in players that you've lost, right? Like if I haven't played in a couple of years and I'm looking to come back to Hearthstone and I'm like, okay, I could invest all this money in updating my collection and bringing it up to like current day, or like look at these thousands of cards that I already have from the time that I played up until a year and a half ago or something. Like, what can I do with that? You could, if wild had these moments of, mini expansions, card insertions, whatever you want to call them, just more than a buffer nerf, but, some real attention, then you could potentially bring back players that you've lost over the years that have varying amounts of wild collections and be like, hey, we're doing some cool stuff. Like maybe you were an Undertaker Hunter deck player back in the day. Guess what? We're going to unnerf Undertaker. We're going to add a whole bunch of crazy death rattle things in Hunter, and we're just going to make Undertaker Hunter OP. All you're going to need is your original like Nax collection and these 3 new cards we printed. Like, you could definitely get players in with an attitude like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's something to think about. Obviously, I'm part of the problem. I don't play a lot of Wild myself. I don't even know if there are community Wild tournaments out there. So clearly we are not promoting them here on the program. So that's the other thing I like to see.
Well, I mean, the last time the Blizzard did one, like if we're talking about actual Blizzard, I feel like that was like 2 or 3 years ago at this point.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I feel like Faeli.
Did they do a second?
I think, huh?
Did they do 2 of them? I feel like they only did 1.
They might have only done 1. I want to say that there was 2, but I think maybe there was only 1. But I remember that Faeli was doing really, really well in, I want to say maybe it was even in Constructed before we went to like the crazy in-person Masters Tour every weekend thing, which was 2018. So it might have even been back in like 2017, because I remember Faeli was doing really, really well in what we were doing in Standard at the time. And then they had this Wild tournament, and he was in the Wild tournament. It was like, oh my God, he's dominating in 2 places. What is happening? So like, that's how long ago it was, because I'm pretty sure it was pre my time at DreamHack.
Yep. Well,
yeah.
Well, I'd like to see it. There is still an unknown new game mode on the horizon, and it did say it was going to use our collection. Mm-hmm. Who knows what that means? But I would imagine it would have to use more than our standard collection to make a splash. But I could be wrong.
Well, no, I think they did clarify that it would use wildcards, because it was asked around the time when they released the roadmap, and people were like, "Ooh, new game mode. Will it use our collection?" And they were like, "Yeah, you might not want to dust your cards."
Oh, you're
FYI.
right. You are absolutely right. I didn't remember that quote, but yes. We'll see.
We shall see. Hopefully soon.
Keep your emails coming, everybody. tacpodcast@gmail.com. Again, patrons, you can just drop us a message right in the patron Discord. And that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of The Angry Chicken. The next time we do one of these podcasts, Skullomance will be out. We will have had a chance to actually play with some of these decks. And who knows, we'll like surprise us with another Battlegrounds update or something. I find that unlikely. But whatever.
I am going to do dirty, nasty things with Mozaki, and I'm going to have so much to talk about next week.
Rated M for mature. Speaking of our patrons, thank you so much for the support, everybody. Really, really, really mean it. It's been a weird ass year, and we have held steady, and it means the world to us. So it's been on my mind lately, because I just realized we're still in this, and I was really worried at the beginning of this year, as a lot of podcasters were, because numbers have gone down. People aren't commuting. It turns out a lot of people listen to podcasts on their commute. So to have the support of our patrons means the world to us, always has, but it's been particularly just meaningful and helpful this year. Yeah. So thank you very much. And if you like what we're doing here, you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. It's an opt-in subscription. You can give whatever works for you. So go check it out. Plus you get some perks like no ads in your audio version of the show and access to our Discord and all kinds of stuff. Thank you to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. You want to become a producer? Patreon is the place to do so. You can also find every damn episode of The Angry Chicken we have ever made, the whole back catalog. You want to go hear about me killing Jocelyn with a sheep and me thinking that was really unique at the time?
Oh my God.
It's the first episode of The Angry Chicken.
I think that was the first game of Hearthstone we ever played against each other. You killed me with my own sheep, and I was like, "What is this game?"
Yep, you sheeped one of my minions. I think I was playing Shaman, because I was just like, They have a totem that just draws cards. I play Magic. That's broken. Why wouldn't I play this class 24/7?
And I knew nothing.
Yeah, I just needed to die, because I was like, I killed you with a sheep. This is the most awesome thing I've ever seen in a card game. Never going to get cooler than this. Meanwhile, at the time, we were able to coin out Defias Ringleader, and just... This
is our town, scrub.
It was busted in beta. Anyway, if you want to go hear old episodes of The Angry Chicken, you can do so. amove.tv. Or just go to theangrychicken.com, which is a domain I keep forgetting I own. Because we got it really late. We got it this year. We looked it up and we're like, oh my God, it's available. We should probably buy this. So just go to theangrychicken.com for everything Angry Chicken. You want to catch our YouTube clips, youtube.com/AimboTV. Again, my Bigglesworth game is up there with commentary by myself. I don't really stream, but sometimes I hit record when I play games, and that one was really interesting. So I did some commentary over it. So go check that out. And youtube.com/amove2 for the full uncut VODs if you want to see our, I'm going to say it, our rockin' hair. We both have awesome hair, Joss. Jocelyn is flipping her ponytail for the audio audience. So before we go, Joss, where can folks find you when you're not the angriest of chickens?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I am at Joss Plays. That's JOCE Plays. We're going to be doing card opening streams, and then I'm going to be trying out the decks talked about at the top of the show. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow night, probably around, I want to say like 8 or 9 o'clock, I think, and we'll go a decent amount of time tomorrow. It's launch day.
Rad. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. This and everything, you already know where to go. It's over at amove.tv. That's where all the shows that I make are. And so go check it out. You're going to have a good time. Thank you so much for watching, listening, however it is you get this show. If you are subscribed to the messenger pigeon version of the Angry Chicken, I really, really appreciate your support. So we will be back next week to talk about the release of Scholomance. And until then, job's done.
Job's done.
They're ridiculous and I love them. All right.
They are so ridiculous.
It was a fun show. Really good flow. Time just melted by on that one. Just absolutely melted by. Chat room, you're great. To all of Slissa's wonderful chatters that have stuck around, thank you for hanging, everybody. You know,
we heart you. We heart Slissa.
I think that's the
She's
biggest
awesome.
raid we've ever received. That was really cool. That was super freaking awesome. Yeah, that was a good time. Good time was had by all. And if you didn't have a good time, please don't send a message about it so that I'm not proven to be a liar. Thank you. Please and thank you.
Oh my God, yes. Garrett's new stream name, Ridiculous Glasses. It can be BFFs with Ridiculous Hat.
I'm fairly sure it could just be called Ridiculous Hair, and it would always be a true statement as opposed
also
to
true.
Because
maybe that's what I'll rebrand to with all of my ridiculous colors.
Because every other pair of glasses I have are very pedestrian. These are without a doubt the most ridiculous ones I have ever owned. Other than, when I was a kid, I had Men in Black glasses that I got from Burger King. Those were pretty absurd, but not as absurd as these.
Wait. I don't normally wear glasses, so I don't actually, but I haven't actually used them. But. That's
right. I remember the day after my wedding because Katie and I went to Universal and to hang with you. And not only were you like straight up heat stroked, what? Where did you get those?
They're Hearthstone Ray-Ban. Wait, I can't put them on because of my things, but they came with the Ashes of Outland thingy.
I didn't get sunglasses.
You didn't. Wait, you didn't get this?
No.
The gigantic Demon Hunter glaive?
No, I didn't get that.
Oh. I got a gigantic Demon Hunter glaive and then hated Demon Hunter.
Wait, why didn't you mention? I didn't know you got the sweet swag. What the shit?
They just love me, Garrett.
What the
deal with
fudge? I didn't get that. I love Ray-Bans. These are the only non-Ray-Bans I own.
They came with a sweet Hearthstone case.
What
too.
the fuck? What the shit? What did I do? What did I say before Ashes of Outland? Wait, well, hold on.
I got there was a hat too.
Well, hold on. Did you get the Scholomance swag? Because I got the Scholomance swag.
Yes.
You got the Scholomance swag?
They just love me, Garrett.
What did I do? Oh, you know what? Actually,
they just love me.
Actually, I did recently check my address with them, and they had my old address. So I'm wondering if whoever's living where I used to live just got some
like,
sweet ass Hearthstone swag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit. Shit. To be fair, Garrett got early access. We probably could have gotten it. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
But yeah, so yeah, those are my sweet sunglasses. Yep.
Yeah. Isn't the skull hashtag streamer privilege, everybody? Isn't the Scholomance swag like dope as shit?
I haven't actually opened my box yet.
What?
It
open
just came.
Right.
It just came.
Well, I'm gonna ruin it for you because it was the only couldn't figure. I really wanted to play with my camera because I never have a good excuse to use my nice camera. So I was like, I'm gonna set it up all nice and take some nice photos. And I didn't have it in the photos, so I'm gonna spoil this for you. There is a robe in there that is one of the most comfortable things I have ever applied to my body.
Thrall is currently sitting on the box. He's
so
looking at me
comfy.
like, I'm not getting off this box.
It's so comfy. I haven't worn the shoes yet. Like, I'm afraid to wear the shoes because they're so cool looking and I don't want to mess them up.
I did see you tweet out the shoes and I was like, those are amazing and my definite color scheme.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like, again, hashtag streamer privilege. Been a long time since I've gotten Blizzard swag because I used to get a lot of it from the Heroes team. And they don't do it anymore.
Rip Heroes team.
Yeah, which they're still around, like, and they're doing great. We've seen some fantastic growth over on the Heroes of the Storm side of things. They are. Again, Heroes of the Storm, more updates than Overwatch. But yeah, the Skullman stuff was sweet. Like, I'm like a big fan of Vans shoes, and that's what they are. They're like actual Vans. I will like legitimately shoes I will wear. So I was like, oh, sweet.
Except you don't want to wear them because they're too nice.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want them all messed up for like the next time there's like, we're all out like at a BlizzCon or an event to hang together. We can all like, we can roll up in our Blizzard swag.
We're gonna match.
We are. And we're also sponsored by the same underwear company. So we'll be wearing the same shoes, but also the same
Head
undies.
to toe and underneath.
All right. Because it is pandemic year and I love daydreaming about these things. Promise me, Joss, that we can do a show in our Hearthstone robes next BlizzCon.
Absolutely.
Like, I want full video. We need to find somewhere to rent like smoking chairs, like those big ridiculous leather armchairs. And I want the full gamut. I want the camera to come in.
I thought you meant like chairs with like dry ice around them. I'm I'm in.
No, like you need to.
Smoking chairs.
We're gonna put up a green screen so we can make it look like we're in an old library, and we're gonna be both sitting in leather armchairs in our Hearthstone robes, and I'm gonna have Katie with the camera like come in slowly, and we're both gonna be like reading a book, and we're gonna do the whole. Oh, I didn't see you come in. Hi, welcome to our live BlizzCon episode. I will not be satisfied until that is exactly what happens. So, yeah. Oh man, every time I think about BlizzCon not happening.
Yeah, sad face. It's gonna be weird, man. It's gonna be the first time I haven't seen you in person at least once a year, if not 2 or 3 times in a year, since basically we started doing this show.
I can tell you it's a bummer because Kyle didn't go to BlizzCon last year, and like, yeah, this is the longest I've gone without seeing Kyle since he and I started podcasting together, and it is a bummer. Like, when there were like when people were like tossing around the idea like maybe BlizzCon won't happen because they won't have a lot of news this year. This was like pre-COVID. I was like, hey,
yeah,
of course it's going to happen. They have too many esports and things to just
not do it.
And
I mean, they did it in the Diablo Immortal year, so
yeah, if they did it that year, they did it in the Geek Is year back in 2010, and nothing to announce. They're gonna keep doing it, but I was thinking to myself like, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Save some money, not travel my ass off in fall, which I always do. But like now, after this year, like. Obviously, this is not me saying they should have it. It would be extremely.
Yes, it would be irresponsible.
But like the emotional thought of like not going, not seeing my friends is really, it's getting to me. It's getting to me a little bit. So it's good to hang with you. It's good to hang with chat. Is I guess what I'm trying to get at. And thanks for hanging, everybody. We're gonna bring the stream down now and get this episode posted out into the podcast audience. So yeah, if you're new here and you do like audio podcasts, that is predominantly how this show is consumed. So if you want to add a new Blizzard podcast to your lineup, look up The Angry Chicken wherever podcasts can be found. So,
except that one place because they're gross and we hate them.
Stitcher?
Yeah.
You can say it.
I wasn't going to say it. I was just going to let it hang.
Do not host our podcast that we don't host with them because they broke our feed for a year and couldn't fix it? Anyways. Bye now, everybody. We'll see you later. Good luck in pack openings tomorrow. That's how I should sign off.
I'll see you tomorrow.